The Icons of Real Estate podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business. From $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Hello and welcome back to the Icons of Real Estate podcast. I am your host, Timothy Kaitana, and today I have a special guest, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I think if you want to get into real estate, then prepare to be inspired and motivated. And if you're looking for an agent that's going to give you the best service under the sun, well, I'll say get your phone ready because after this episode, you're definitely going to give her a call. Who am I talking about? I am talking about Andrea Gordon. Welcome to the podcast, ma'am.
My goodness, what an introduction. Thank you so very, very much.
All right. The pleasure is all mine. I was really excited to have this conversation with you because I know you've definitely been in the industry for a while. And I knew that our audience was definitely going to learn a lot from you. We have some people that listen to this podcast, people that want to get into the real estate industry, but just don't know how to go about it. And I believe that by the end of this episode, a lot of people will definitely have their minds transformed. But I want to start off from the beginning, from where all of this started. Like, how did you get into real estate and why?
I got into real estate because I had produced a play that was a complete flop, and I had borrowed $60,000 from friends and relatives to do it. Mm-hmm. And I was bound and determined to pay every cent back to all of them because I owed it to them. Mm-hmm. And so when that play was a flop, I went and I got a job actually at an advertising agency selling they were ads for high-tech professionals. It was recruitment advertising. And I worked at this recruitment advertisement place for about a year and became their top salesperson pretty much almost immediately and managed to pay back 100% of the money that I owed everyone. And I thought, oh, I'm pretty good at this sales thing. So I wonder what else I could sell. And at that point, I decided that I would either sell houses or high-end cars. And I went into a couple of car dealerships and I noticed that there were no women there. It was all guys. If there was a gal, she was like the receptionist or some such. But then I went into some real estate offices and I realized that everybody was female. And, 70% of realtors are female, by the way. It's one of the great ways in which someone who doesn't have like an Ivy League education or a lot of money can get into an industry that can support them. Same thing for people of color. It's always been a great way to make money with a very low bar to the entry into that business. So when I looked at the car dealerships and I looked at the real estate offices, I thought to myself, geez, I think that I should probably go with the real estate. And so I went about getting my license. In the meantime, I got a job selling wine with different hotels and things in San Francisco. And it was actually like a Seinfeld episode or something because I was having to carry 24 bottles of wine at a time. And you'd find parking spaces that were like way down at the bottom of the hill and have to carry these big, huge packages up with you to the restaurant, only to find that the normal guy who sold wine to them had done an order. So people, I think, were buying wine off of me just to placate me in some way, shape, or form. It was just a horrible job. It was just awful. But then I got my real estate license and I was able to start doing real estate. And my very first month in the business, I made 5 sales.
Wow. In the first month, 5 sales. Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. Wow.
Well, they're analogous skill sets.
Oh, wow. Wow. And what was the secret? I mean, I know having the background in sales really does help, but going into real estate is a different ballgame. How did you do it? What was the secret? Did you have a mentor?
I actually listened to people. And because of my theater background, I know what is important to people. When an actor is preparing a role, They'll ask themselves, who am I? What do I want? What are the obstacles to getting what I want? How am I going to perform, right? So you ask yourself those questions as an actor. And when I'm working with somebody who is a buyer or a seller, I'm asking, what do they want? What are they going to do to get what they want? What are the obstacles to getting what they want? How can I achieve this for them? Why do they want what they want? Biggest question in real estate is why.
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't have a real why, then there will be no sale or purchase. If somebody doesn't have a genuine reason, if they're just doing what's called testing the market, that doesn't work in the economy that we're in right now. So the biggest thing is motivation. You have to be able to gauge people's motivation and then to learn to work efficiently within that. So for example, if I talk to somebody who's like, yeah, I've thought about selling, but I'm not sure. I might want to wait until the stock market reaches X, and I might want to wait until my daughter graduates from college, or I might want to wait till. When you hear that person, automatically is like not very motivated. Whereas if you hear somebody who's like, we're having a baby in 3 months and when we're living in a studio apartment, that they're probably going to want to do something quickly, or we have to downsize because of X, Y, and Z. Then that person is motivated, and that's where you put your effort and energy. Half of real estate is knowing where to put your effort and energy, because you're just giving of your time at that, in what you're doing. And so knowing how to use your time efficiently is going to be the thing that helps you to make the most money.
Wow. That is true. Motivation is everything. And speaking of motivation, I just want to know from you, like, what kept you motivated? Especially in times like these where you have low inventory. How do you stay motivated in such a competitive market?
Well, I'm very fortunate because I've been doing it now for 26 years. So the reality is that in a market like this, someone like me excels, because chances are that seller who might have been willing to give somebody who was kind of more green a chance is probably going to gravitate towards somebody like me, because I'm more of a sure thing, if that makes sense. So now I'm very fortunate because I've worked my tail off for years and years and years. I've gotten to the point where I'm reaping the benefit of those things. But back when I first started, first off, I was young and dumb. So it didn't occur to me that I was starting real estate in a terrible time. It was one of the first. I've been through 3 economic downturns in real estate, and I started out in one. And the way in which I was motivated to make things work was such that I just made it work. And it didn't occur to me to be depressed or upset or worried. And I'm going to say this to your viewers out there. Everything you're reading in the newspapers is not true. Nothing that's going on right now is going to affect you immediately. The worst case scenario in the situation is you're going to have to sign some buyer broker agreements with your buyers, which you should have been doing anyway. And moving forward, just put one foot in front of the next and don't think about any of the news, because the news is always late and usually wrong.
That is true. Ladies and gentlemen, first I have to thank you, Andrea, because I know that a lot of people, especially people that just got into real estate industry, are just at a point where they're like, what now? Like, was this a good move? And thank you for actually addressing that, because a lot of people have been reading, what's in the news, and they're like, okay, hearing is in the news, and they were like, okay, fine. I don't think this is going to be good for us. I mean, how are we going to move forward? And it's good to hear you say that. It's good to hear a person that has, over 25 years of experience say, hey, don't get into this with fear. Don't listen to everything that you're hearing out there. Like you said, I mean, this is something that you should have been doing anyway. Just keep on moving. And that's the best way. I like that. That's the advice that you have to give, and there's a couple of things that I really wanted to learn from you right now. As a person that has 26 years in the industry, my question to you is, as a person that wants to get into real estate, how do I brand myself? How do I work on branding myself as a professional like you have?
Just very specifically, I think you should take a piece of lined paper, and I think you should write down on that piece of lined paper who you are. Are you interested in sports? Are you interested in community service? Are you interested in all of the things about you that make you who you are? Because your what they call best fit customer is going to be somebody who fits into the categories that you put on that page. Write down what you don't like about the world and yourself on the other side. What you want to do is draw that person who is your best fit customer. For example, I like to laugh, I like to joke, I have fun. And I always do really, really badly with clients that are like not humorous, engineering types that are nonverbal. Like if somebody can't listen to a joke and find it funny, I'm not going to have any fun working with them. I can tell. So yeah, and when you're working with a buyer, it's really important to feel comfortable with them because you're going to be spending hours and hours and hours with this person. So just like you pick your friends, you pick your clients. The other thing is to remember that you pick your clients. It's not your clients picking you, it's who you choose to work with. Once again, going back to that motivation, but also thinking about who is my best fit customer. I actually had a wonderful session with, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting his last name now. This guy who was a marketing person at Compass. When I first got there and I was trying to create my palettes and my branding for myself, he did this whole Venn diagram with me of who the people are. Do you know what a Venn diagram is, right? It's like one of those things where you have different intersecting circles and where they all meet in the middle is shows who you should be working with. And basically we came up with who my best fit person was. Like, my personal politics, which should be aside, but they're not. I live in Berkeley. I work in Berkeley. I'm a left-leaning liberal Democrat. I am an anti-Trumper. I will say that out loud.
Yeah.
My best fit client is not going to be a Republican, pro-Trump person. That's not going to be who I jibe with. That's not my person. My person probably is very well educated, sophisticated, loves the arts, interested in social issues, has a desire to do good in the world. That's going to be my best fit customer. And so I tailor my marketing to that person so that I can pull that person in. Same thing with anybody who's just starting out in the business. Everybody's best fit customer is a little bit different. Somebody who's very religious and goes to church all the time, they'll find customers who are very religious and go to church all the time. Somebody who loves going to baseball games will find other people that are super into baseball. I mean, that's where you should be looking, and you should be looking first at your sphere of influence, the people that you connect with the most, and don't be frightened to ask them for business. That's how you get started. Branding is really just the choice to put your flag out there, whatever flag it is. That's all branding is. You don't want to look like everybody else because everybody else is boring. Everybody else is not you. Who you are innately and most authentically is going to be your brand. Does that make sense?
That makes so much sense because, like, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about it because I know a lot of realtors say that building relationships is key in the industry. And, it just dawned on me that you can only build relationships with people that you have things in common with, people that you have. Chances are you're not going to create a good relationship with everybody you meet. Like you said, you don't want to be with a client that can't take a joke because maybe you're that person that just likes sharing jokes and just, smiling and laughing. And you will never have that connection if you guys are not a fit. And I like that you mentioned that because I think a lot of people getting into real estate will really try to have that one size fits all mentality when it comes to clients and just being like, I think I'll be able to attract any kind of client. And in reality, when they get into it, they realize sometimes it never works out. And when you meet the client that shares the same interests as you or likes the same things that you like, though that becomes a relationship where 10 years down the line, they still give you a call and give you more business. So I really like that you said that. Yeah.
Exactly. It's all about referral business. And also the other thing is that a lot of people come from what I call a scarcity mindset.
Mm,
They think there isn't enough out there, that there's not
mm,
going to be enough money, there's not going to be enough business. There is always enough business for literally everybody. There
right.
is a client for every single person. So do not be frightened about business being scarce. You don't have to take everything that comes your way. You look like an idiot if you are doing business in places that you're not familiar with, for example.
Mm,
Like, what is the point of that? Why would somebody drive 60 miles to go try to sell a house? That doesn't make any sense. Stay local and it will help you in the long run. In
mm,
our area, it's the East Bay of California.
mm.
There are tons of realtors here,
Yeah.
and there's enough business for literally everybody.
Mm. I think a lot of people are afraid. They're like, okay, I think I have to start, like looking for business outside of my area. And
No,
like you said, that's that mentality. You just think that, okay, we're going to run out of business. And if that was true, I mean, you wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't still be doing this. You wouldn't have 26 years of experience. The things
right.
that you know and you sharing what you know because you've experienced it and you've seen that, look, there's plenty of business for everyone.
Always,
Wow,
always.
that's
I
amazing.
have, I have a paperweight on my desk that says, "What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail?"
Oh,
And that's a question that I think your viewers or your listeners should be thinking about and asking themselves. Don't ever go into anything with an expectation of failure. What is the
mm,
point of doing that? There is no point in doing that. Do what you love. Feel comfortable with what you are doing. Feel comfortable with the people you choose to be with and do your work with,
yeah.
and you'll succeed. So start off, ask your brother if he has any friends who want to buy a house. Ask. I literally have sold the houses of my dry cleaner,
Wow.
my parking lot attendant, his mother's house, the jewelry store guy who repairs watches.
Mm,
I basically have worked with all of the vendors in my exact little area
mm,
because I put myself out there. And the hard part is the first time you do it. So when I was a very young agent, when I was a baby agent, I set a rule for myself that every single day I would hand out 5 cards.
mm,
Didn't matter who they were to, I would just hand them out. And literally, that became like a thing I did for years. And I think that it is really worth the expenditure to do that. Nowadays, they have e-cards, so you don't even have to print out cards. You can just do it all from your phone. But the reality is that the act of doing that is more important than the fact that you did that, if that makes any sense,
mm.
because it gets you over the hump of being worried about talking to strangers or being worried about connecting with people that are not immediately involved with you.
Mm, mm,
Because
mm.
I think that's a hard thing for people when you start out in sales, is that whole thing. I once worked in a sales room when I was in graduate school selling advertisements
Yeah.
for the Marin Independent Journal. And the lady who ran the room had this trick where she would turn on horrible disco music, like really loud. So we had to talk over it. And
Mm,
so you realized after a while that it didn't matter. You could just talk to anybody.
mm,
And it was very useful. Now, I have a background in theater. I
mm,
also urge people to take improv classes
mm,
and to take acting classes because it really helps you to connect with other people, and it also really helps you to think on your feet and be fast
yeah.
when you do improv. And I think that they're fun. I mean, it's a great way to meet interesting people, and you can probably sell them all houses if you are in the class with them.
Yeah.
So those are things that you can do to get out of yourself, because the biggest impediment you have to being a successful real estate agent is yourself.
Wow. That is true. That is true. You kind of reminded me of my sales days. I remember when I first got into sales, they had us cold calling. So we had to do like 50 contacts a day, and we
Mm-hmm.
had to book at least 2 sales calls from that. I remember when I first had to make the call, my main fear was that What if they say no? What if they hang up on me? Like that was what was holding me back. I was like, I don't want that to happen. And I remember a friend of mine was like, yeah, so what if they do that? I mean, you still have like 49 numbers to dial. You still have 30
Right,
numbers to dial. You know,
right.
it's all about getting that one person that says yes.
Yeah,
That changes
yeah.
everything. So it's amazing that you're saying that fear does hold us back. A lot of times we are held back by the fear of not succeeding or disappointment. So it's
Mhm.
amazing that you're saying that. Now, my question to you is for a person that has been thinking about going into real estate, you know, women, moms out there that want to get into real estate, why should they get into real estate, especially in this current market? You know, why should anyone get into real estate right now?
Well, again, as I said, I do believe that for several years, the impact of whatever is going on right now will not be felt.
Mm,
So, worst case scenario, several years from now, things may change somewhat. I also do believe that it is a very important profession. It is a profession, it is not just a job. And, we're licensed like doctors and lawyers are. It's an important, you are there helping someone at a juncture point in their lives. Think about it. Every single person who is buying or selling a home, if they're highly motivated,
mm,
is getting married, having a baby, getting divorced, somebody died, somebody's gone off to college, somebody's gotten a new job, somebody's lost their job.
mm,
You're always there at some of the very most important moments in people's lives, and it is their most valuable financial asset in most cases.
yeah.
So there's a lot of gravitas to what you are doing, and there are so many rules and regulations involved. You have to really know what you're doing to do it. And AI and disruptive companies that come in and say, hey, buyer, I'll do this for you for $100, they don't know what they're doing. And
Mm,
there are going to be a raft of lawsuits that clog up the court system from here to eternity,
mm,
because what we do is actually seriously skilled.
yeah.
It's getting your real estate license is sort of like learning to drive a car. You don't really know how to drive the car until you've done it for a while.
Yeah.
And when you start off in real estate, you should attach yourself to an agent like me who knows what they're doing so that you can learn
Mm,
by example and just do the menial stuff that they ask you to do and be part of a team until you feel comfortable going out on your own. That would be my first advice to you. I didn't do it that way, but I'm a little different. So,
mm,
but I do think that joining a team is a useful experience for most people. It gets them inured to the business, the rhythm of the business. They understand what they're doing. Do not go into it if you think it is a part-time job, because it is
mm.
not. It is a full-time job. It is a more than full-time job. I, to this day, still work about 60 hours a week. And
Oh,
there have been other times in my life when I've been working 80 hours a week. So you really need to think about it in terms of it being a career and a profession as opposed to just a job. If you
yeah,
want just a job, go work at a department store.
yeah.
If you want just a job, go work at a restaurant. If you want just a job, realize that when you are a real estate agent, you are an entrepreneur.
Mm,
The company that you work for is actually not something that you are an employee of, but rather you are their client. I always tell
mm,
people to make sure that they recognize that you are bringing money to that big company that you're part of. Therefore, they should take damn good care of you.
yeah.
And if they're not, go to another company.
Mm,
Always set yourself up with an email address that you can take with you. Never connect your CRM 100% to their CRM.
mm,
Always be able to move on a dime if you want to, because you don't know if it's the place you're going to want to stay forever. Your manager at that company is super, super important. You need to go where the manager is really good, because that's how you're going to learn.
yeah. Yeah. Wow, that is amazing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I said at the beginning of the show that this is going to be one of those episodes that really transforms your mind because, well, I didn't expect to learn a lot of things that I learned today, and I know you
Good.
guys didn't as well. So thank you so much. Andrea, I
You're
know
welcome.
that someone listening, thank you. I know that someone listening to this right now has their phone on standby, and all they're waiting to hear is, how can I get in contact with Andrea? How can I reach her? How can I get in contact? Because I want to get into real estate. Then I want to connect with Andrea. I want to learn from her. And maybe there's another person that's saying, hey, you know what? I think I want Andrea to be the person that helps me sell my house or helps me get a house. How can people get in contact with you?
Great. Well, number one, I'm best for me is actually email. It's
Okay.
Andrea at AndreaGordon.com. That's ANDREA at ANDREAGORDON.com. You can look at my website, which is www.andreagordon.com. And if somebody needs to call me or text me, it's 510-421-6818. I have a book coming out towards the end of the year that's all about real estate, and it's called Realizations. So please consider it.
Well, look, I'm looking forward to it. And I know that some of you out there are already looking forward to it as well. So just to make sure you don't miss out on this, I want you to just do yourself a favor right now. Go to www.andreagordon.com and just make sure that you are always visiting that. That way you don't miss anything that she has, especially this book, because I guarantee you it's going to be a game changer. Andrea, thank you so much. You know, words can't express how much I enjoyed this and how much I appreciate this, because I know that someone out there has definitely walked away with something that's going to help them become a better real estate agent. You've definitely approached this with so much transparency. And I feel that a lot of agents don't do or say the things that you say, because everyone gets into real estate with that mindset of, hey, you know, I get to work my own hours. It can be part-time. But, you know, getting to hear that from a person that has 26 years of experience, say that, hey, don't get into this with that mindset. You have to put all into it. You have to give your all if you want to get the results. And I think not a lot of people are saying that. I think we've all been sold the dreams of millions and Ferraris, but not the reality that you gave us today. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm grateful. And thank you, everybody out there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it has been an amazing episode with your host, Timothy Kaitana, Andrea Gordon, and her lovely dog in the background if you're watching this on YouTube. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys again next time.